All right, item 27, proposed water and wastewater rates for fiscal years 21-22, 22-23, 23-24. And again, we have Ms. Langley as presenter.
So this is the third time presenting on these proposed rates. I do have the full presentation available if council would like me to do the full presentation, but I have narrowed it down to just a few slides if council's okay with me going that direction. And then if there's additional questions, I can expand. So again, just the overview, what's the purpose of rates? The purpose of rates is to provide funds to cover our operational costs, our debt service, and then capital projects. What we're proposing for the next 3 years for water is a 5% increase in fiscal year 21-22, 5% increase in 22-23, and a 5% increase in 23-24. You can see that even at the end of the 3 years, we are still below what was approved through the Prop 218 process in 2016. But as noted in the previous presentations, we completed our water master plan and determined that there's a significant amount of funds needed for capital projects, as well as operational costs continue to increase. So here's the estimated fiscal impact with the 5% increases each year. Here's our total revenues, our total expenses. And so we're expecting the net revenues to go from approximately $4.5 million up to approximately $5.6 million. And so we'll be able to utilize those funds as noted for projects that we've identified, as well as addressing operational costs. Any comments on water before I move on to wastewater? Okay, for the proposed wastewater rates, we're proposing 8% increase in fiscal year 21-22, 8% increase in 22-23, and a 5.6% increase in 23-24. That gets us pretty close to the Prop 218 amount. And the reason that we're wanting to max out these rates is we have some large projects in the near horizon in which we need to raise the capital, not to necessarily fund the projects with cash, but to be able to pay the debt service for either a loan or bonds for those projects. Again, here's the industrial and septic hauler rates. And then the estimated fiscal impact, the total revenues would go from approximately $18.3 million up to almost $21 million. Again, total expenses, $16.2 million up to about $17 million. And so our net revenues available for projects will go from approximately $2.1 million to $4 million. So even with those increases, it's still not a significant amount. And for reference purposes, one of the projects that we're going to need to finance is a new outfall diffuser, currently at an estimated cost of $35 million, at which the debt service payment is estimated to be $2 million annually. So that would take up a big chunk of that increase. At the last council meeting, there was a question related to rate assistance. And so there is a California COVID-19 utility relief funding available. So income eligible households who need financial assistance for unpaid rent and utilities are able to apply for help through the California COVID Rent Relief Program. It helps pay past due utility payments accrued from April 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2021, as well as paying future utility bills, but it's limited to 12 months. The website address is housingiskey.com. I will note, if you go to housingiskey.com, it's confusing because the headline is related to rental assistance, and you look at it and you're like, wait, it doesn't say anything about rates. However, you call, and that's the process to get qualified. So you would reach out to that phone number, go through the qualification process, and then they would determine how much you would be eligible for utility rate assistance. Implementation, so if council moves to proceed with the rate increases, the rates will become effective July 1st, which means they would be applied to consumption and usage as of July 1st, and so they would not show up on the utility bill until towards the end of August, as the bill that's sent out at the end of August applies to July. And with that, I'm recommending that council adopt a resolution setting the water rates and the wastewater rates for fiscal years 21-22, 22-23, and 23-24. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Questions from the council?
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Langley, for the condensed presentation, as we've heard it 3 times, and thank you for bringing the information about how people can get assistance. You know, back to our last meeting, you know, I had to just do what I gave people my word on. I see the need. We've come through a year of high unemployment, COVID. Before we went into that, I heard from seniors and such that had a hard time paying their bill. And the discussions was, at this point in time, I could not support a rate increase, even though I see the need. It's $200 million. I see it's there. When you hear me tonight vote against this, it's not that I don't see the need. It's very simply that I gave the people of this city my word 2 years ago, and I have to be true to that. So, thank you.
Questions?
Through the mayor, I'd like to thank you also for that slide on the relief. It is quite confusing. There's quite a bit of support out there, and those that are eligible and truly need it, the system is not kind or easy for folks to find the support that they need. So I'm glad that you added that slide. Is there a way to add that information into the water bill?
It actually was in this last water bill.
I just paid. I don't always like, I'm gonna have to check it out, but can we just keep it going until people catch on that it's there? You know, some of us just, you know, pay it, but thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. You're just thinking ahead all the time, Diana. Thanks.
You can thank finance for that.
Okay, finance. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Anybody else? I do have a comment. I think that as a council, and thanks to the presentations, I think we are keenly aware of the need to invest in infrastructure. It's an essential service. And as an essential service, I think we have an obligation to make sure that it's funded. If that water and sewer system collapses, then I don't think we're doing due service to the community. And therefore, an investment in that system is necessary. And you've made the case, in my opinion, for that investment. At the same time, I do know that there's probably going to be some consideration or concern out there for the potential for some fundings coming out of COVID and other means. What we're considering approving tonight, at least in my opinion, is the beginning of making sure that we have funds available to maintain our infrastructure as it relates to water and sewer. If there are funds that become available through the federal programs or the state programs, then obviously we can take that into consideration, correct? And we could either postpone a rate increase or even take a different look at what those are. So we have options going forward, but right now those options aren't known to us, and therefore I think it's very prudent for this council to approve a rate increase, even though it is hard to do so. And I know that there are folks out there who will find this as a hardship. I am aware that there are some other programs, and we also have means throughout the city to consider rate relief as well, or help at least. There's a low-income housing energy assistance program. So in addition to what Ms. Langley's put up there, I know that there are other options for this city to Councilperson Espindolas' hey, look, let's make sure that we do our due diligence and alert people to those who are having a problem with paying rates, that they are aware of those programs, and make sure that's advertised so that all of members of our community of all ethnicities understand what those options are to them. But I thank you for the many, many presentations and the discussions and the very hard work of the water and sewer folks in our community, who I also know are taking on projects, self-help projects, in an effort to try to limit costs as well. I recognize that and find that quite admirable. Other questions or comments? Comments from the public? Yes, please.
Hi, I spoke about this last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, so I just wanted to reiterate. Usually, though, you have discussion after we've said something, so I want to try to put some rebuttal out there. There's something about debt covenants, and I don't know if Ms. Langley's explained that in more detail, or maybe your finance people. Don't underestimate that. It's very important that you stay above that level. If you drop below that level, the problem could be that if you have a major incident where you're going to need a lot of cash immediately, and you don't want to go to your general fund for that, you want to be able to access those cheap loans or grants that the state or the federal level have. And you won't be able to do that if you don't meet that covenant. That's my understanding of it. And so it's really key to make sure that whatever you implement right now, that you make sure that you stay above that. And it looked in the original documentation, if you did not implement these rate increases, we will not be meeting that covenant. That was my understanding. Or you get very close to getting down to a certain level. But anyways, I have 3 minutes. I'll get to the rest of it. So I'm just wondering also if the rate assistance isn't being given to the customers, like if they call over the phone and say, I'm having a hard time paying for my water rates or my sewer. Is there something that I can, it's too much? Is there something I can do? If they can perhaps, the people that get the calls or have the people come in because they are not able to make their payments, if they're getting this information that they can go to do the COVID or whatever else. And just if the city council in the past had made the hard decision to at least raise the rates in one of the areas, we wouldn't be forced now to do 8% because they did nothing for 3 years. Had they done that previously, then it might have been something similar to maybe 2.5%, 3% each year. Inflation is 3%. So anything above inflation seems to be sort of the heartache. Don't assume that we all can't pay. There's plenty of us who can pay the rate increase. It's not a problem. We are willing to contribute. So there are some that will have problems. Okay, help those individuals that say they have problems paying that. But the rest of us, we want to do our fair share, and we want to make sure that we have a community that has something for the future and that we're not basically setting up our children for failure, basically. So just want to say that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online?
No public comment.
Okay. Bring it back to the council for any further comment or action.
I move that, I move that we adopt the resolution setting the water rates. Oh, lost that. Water rates for fiscal 2021, 22, 23, 23, 24.
And council member, would that also include approval of a resolution setting the wastewater rates for fiscal years 21, 22, 22, 23, and 23, 24?
As I turn the page, thank you. You're right about that. And I also move on the resolution for setting the waste. Thank you, our city attorney, for fiscal rates 21, 22, 23, 24. Wow. Second. You said it well. Thank you.
All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Espandola and a second by Councilperson Kirchner. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed?
Nay.
All right, 4-1. The proposed water rates for fiscal years 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24 are now passed. Thank you, Diana.